Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss about public expenditure and one of the important theory in public expenditure, that is Wagner's hypothesis. Public expenditure, that we all know that it refers to the expenses which the government incurs for its own maintenance and also for the economy. It means the expense of the public authorities like central, state and local government, either in protecting the citizens or in promoting their social and economic welfare. The volume of public expenditure has been growing in all countries because of the continuous increase in the activities of the state and other public bodies. That is, public expenditure is increasing day by day in developing, underdeveloped and developed countries. Let us move on to the theoretical analysis of public expenditure growth. The Western industrialized nation during the last half of 19th and the 20th century experienced rapid growth in the public sector. The various theories developed by economists to explain the phenomenon of increasing public expenditure can be broadly classified into two groups, that is, pure theories of public expenditure and positive or general theories of public expenditure. The positive theories of public expenditure attempts to find a predictable long-run functional relationship between certain causal variables and relative public sector growth. They also provide some empirical evidence for the functional relationship existing between certain causal variables and relative public sector growth, whereas the pure theories only prove a theoretical explanation as to justification for public expenditure growth. There are three important theories in public expenditure. The first theory is developed by German economist Adolf Wagner. The second theory is developed by Weismann Peacock, and the third theory is put forward by Colin Clark. And here we are discussing about the Wagner's law of increasing state activities. Adolf Wagner, a noted German political economist, propounded an empirical law to analyze and explain the trend in the growth of public expenditure. He argued that a functional cause and effect relationship exists between the growth of an industrializing economy and the relative growth of its public sector. Wagner believed that a functional cause-effect relationship prevailed between economic growth and growth in public expenditure. His hypothesis of the increasing state activity lays that as the per capita income and output increases in advanced countries, the public expenditure of these countries necessarily grows as a proportion to the total economic activity. Wagner has divided public expenditure into two categories: public expenditure for internal and external security, public expenditure for cultural and welfare activities. F. Nitti, Italian economist, also supported Wagner's hypothesis and concluded with the support of empirical evidence that this law was not only applicable to Germany but to various governments which differed widely from each other. The following are the important causes responsible for this tendency. Expansion of traditional functions. Traditional functions mainly include defense, administration of justice, maintenance of law and order, and provision for social overheads. The coverage and variety of such functions have gradually increased. Defense expenditure has expanded rapidly because of a change in military arts and sciences. In modern times, military activities has become sophisticated.
Coverage of new functions. In coverage of new functions, the state were increasing in their coverage of various activities. Traditionally, the state activities were limited to only defense, justice, law and order, maintenance of the state overheads, etc. But with the growing awareness of its responsibilities to the society, the government started expanding its activities in the field of various welfare measures to enrich the cultural life of the society. Along with this, new welfare programs were designed to provide social security to the people. This required increasing government expenditure on education, public health, low-cost housing, subsidized provision of food, agriculture inputs, old age pension, sickness benefit, etc. All expanded the coverage of governmental activities. The next important cause is the social progress, that as the society progresses, the need for public expenditure also increases. Expanding the sphere of public goods. Almost in all modern democratic governments have increasingly recognized the need to provide and expand the sphere of public goods. The need and necessity to provide social and merit goods through budgetary allocations was increasingly recognized by the modern state. The state was trying to shift the composition of national product more in favor of public goods. As a result, state activities expanded to areas like irrigation and flood control projects, construction and maintenance of public parks, provision for education and healthcare facilities, creation of economic overhead capital, etc. Provision of these public goods and merit goods means heavy investment in public enterprises. War and preparation of war is also another cause for the increased state activity and need for urbanization, modernization, rise in price and its controlling process, then increase the national income, activities related to enhanced planning and growth activity, then specialization in various production activity. All these causes increased state activity. Wagner's hypothesis can be graphically represented as like this. In this graph, the real per capita output of public goods is measured on the vertical axis and real per capita income is measured on the horizontal axis. Time is an important third dimension implicit in this graph because the growth in the real per capita output of public goods and in real per capita income is realistically assumed to take place on a horizontal basis over an extended period of time. Line G1 represents a circumstances in which the public sector maintains a constant proportion of the total economic production of the society over time. In other words, a real per capita income increases due to the economic development of the society. The real per capita output of public goods remains at the same proportion of total economic activity. The constant proportion line G1 can be used as a reference point to the graphical representation of Wagner hypothesis as depicted by the line G2. All along the G2, the proportion of resources devoted to the output of public good is expanding over time. The implication of Wagner's law can be stated in the following equation. When the real per capita output of public goods remains at the same proportion of total economic activity, that is PG1, the equation is PGA divided by YA equal to PGO divided by YO. where the subscript A refers to a later and the subscript O to an earlier point of time. However, when the proportion of resources devoted to the total output of public good is expanding over time, that is PG2 in the earlier curve, the equation here is that when the time increases, PGA by YAE is always greater than PGO divided by YO. In other words, the income elasticity of expenditure for public goods YE is elastic. Wagner's hypothesis provides the most suitable framework for explaining economic factors as the most important determinant of a relatively expanding public sector during industrialization and economic growth. The functional relationship Wagner sought to trace are complex. Wagner believed that increased public expenditure was a natural result of economic growth and the continued pressure for social progress. Let us move on to the criticism of Wagner's hypothesis. Although Wagner's hypothesis has many attributes, it also has several defects. Wagner's law of increasing state activity was criticized by Allen T. Peacock and Jack Weisman on the following ground. Wagner's hypothesis deals with the interdisciplinary phenomenon, but it lacks interdisciplinary approach in its analytical framework. Lack comprehensiveness in analysis. Wagner's law lacks comprehensiveness. Political science, economics, and sociology are among the several disciplines to be incorporated in any theory of public expenditure. The Wagner's hypothesis excludes all these characteristics. It is based on an organic self-determining theory of the state, which is not the prevailing theory of the state in modern Western countries. The theory ignores the influence of war on governmental spending, and it stresses a long-term trend of public economic activity which tend to overlook the significant time pattern or process of public expenditure growth. But this is one of the important theory in public expenditure with a lot of significance and importance. Let us conclude the importance of Wagner's hypothesis in public economics. It explains the law of an increasing state activity and the relation on growth and development of countries. F. Nitti, the Italian economist, supported Wagner's hypothesis and explained that Wagner's law was not only applicable to German economy but to various governments which differed widely from each other. Wagner's hypothesis also explains the importance of government functions not only in traditional but in the modern countries also. The government functions are increasing. As a result, it result into increasing public expenditure. Thank you for watching this video.